Now we're going to move to team number 2, which is Thriftapalooza. So Thriftapalooza, he will introduce himself. He's a Tacoma alum, and although he doesn't necessarily have a location for his company now, he's thinking about and looking into whether it can be located actually within the confines of our campus footprint. And he's a U.S. Navy veteran. So welcome, Thriftapalooza.
Where's that clicker? How many of y'all like going to garage sales? I know I like going to garage sales. It's fun to find some treasure. But the problem is right now, you're not going to have a garage sale this weekend, right? That's the same problem Thea the Thrifter is having. Because the garage sale industry is very seasonal, especially here in the Pacific Northwest. We only have half the year, right? And also, it's a very fragmented industry, right? There could be a garage sale here down the street. There might not be another one for a few miles. And she's out there looking for garage sales. See, because Thea the Thrifter loves garage sales. The other thing, too, is that there aren't very many advertisements for this, right? You might see an old sign posted on the side of the road. That sign could have been there for months, and she's chasing dead signs. So she's wasting her time, her gas, and she's frustrated. Now meet Matt, the maintenance man. Okay, Matt, he works night shift, and he's been working for 20 years, and over that 20 years, he's accumulated a lot of stuff in his garage. Look at his garage, right? That's a lot of stuff. And he doesn't know what to do with it. He's got too much. The last time he had a garage sale, no one came because he lives on a dead end. So that's why I bring to you Thriftapalooza. We bring these two communities together. See, Thea is very happy because now she can do one-stop shopping, hit up all the garage sales in one place, and thus save a bunch of time. Matt, the maintenance man, instead of taking his stuff to the dump, he can reduce his carbon footprint, reduce waste by selling it at Thriftapalooza. Look at this cool Seahawks jacket. You see that? That's awesome. And he could also make extra money so he can afford those eggs right now. And then lastly, one thing that's cool about Thriftapalooza is at the end of the event, you can donate your unwanted items to local charities. We've teamed up with Big Brother, Big Sister. We've teamed up with the Wishing Well and St. Vincent de Paul. So there are other markets out there, right? There's the Great Junk Hunt. There's NWG Sales based in Vancouver. There are other markets. But Thriftapalooza is a lot different, right? Because we focus on sustainability. We promote the circular economy. We don't want people to just throw stuff away, right? It's very important to us to teach people about conscious consumerism, not buy stuff for the sake of just buying it and throwing it away. We want people to buy good things that last for a long time. And we want to foster a culture of reuse. When I was young, I was ashamed to go to the thrift store because my parents had to go. But we want to foster that culture and say, hey, it's okay, because we don't want to throw that stuff in the trash. Another thing that's different is that we really curate our market. We don't just let anyone come into the market. We want people to be garage sellers or people with no plastics or reusing things that would have gone into the trash making art. How else are we different? Right? We don't make money off of selling booths. We actually make money off of ticket sales. One of the things that we do is we take the price of the venue and we break it down into individual unit economics so we can pass on that cost to the customer and make it very cheap for someone who has a garage sale. See, the Great Junk Hunt charges $400 to be a vendor. Now, if you have junk, are you gonna pay $400? I don't know. We charge $129 for 2 days. So all of our revenue comes from ticket sales. And like I said earlier, we focus on sustainability, and we also reduce the use of one-time plastics at our events. And also, our social media really promotes sustainable living. It's very important to us. The last thing that makes us different is we're working on our B Corp designation. It's a way to measure your social and environmental impact. It's very important to us. And here's our market opportunity, right? I mentioned Thea the Thrifter earlier. She's very into thrifting, and she's also eco-conscious, right? It's a very targeted niche market. But by bringing her, we've also brought in thrifters and people who are also eco-conscious. See, the thrifting market is a $10.3 billion industry, and it's expected to grow 1.3% to 2.7% in the future. And the eco-conscious, on this survey done by Business Wire, 75% of US consumers are concerned about the environmental impact of the things that they buy. So what next? Well, we think that we can either sell our business to other cities and then collect royalties on that, or we can bring it to other cities ourselves. And another thing that we could start doing is starting to allow consignment. So people can bring us our stuff and we can sell it for you and make a portion of the proceeds. How awesome would that be? And then we could get potential sponsors in the future. And so far, we've only had 2 events. We can scale up by having more events in the future. So here's our revenue forecast. First year's actual data, we generated $110,000 in revenue. We spent about $85,000 to make it, right? We spent a lot of money learning. We wasted some money on some billboards we probably didn't need, did some radio ads, and we bought a lot of supplies. In the future, we expect to spend less money and therefore generate more profits. And then also, our social media following is growing as well. And as we scale up our events, our revenue model, we expect to make more money in the future. And so here's our team, right? This is me. I'm the current CFO. I'm also an MBA graduate from UW-T. I was a former MBAA president here at UW-T. I'm the current director at Startup 253, and I'm also a veteran. I started 5 businesses myself. I love entrepreneurship. Jennifer Nguyen, she's a reseller, and she's very much into the thrifting market. She's also a part-time dental hygienist, and she's an environmentalist. She's our chief environmental officer. And then third, we have Lynn, who is my sister. She's a real estate broker. She got her project management degree at UW, and she also got her master's of education here at UW-T. So we're veteran-owned, minority-owned, and majority woman-owned. And I just want to say here that, you know, they say businesses fail because of founder relations, but I asked my wife to be my Valentine when I was 12. She's still my Valentine. And then lastly, we should get this money so we can bring Thriftapalooza to other markets, right? We can build out our systems and invest in our future, not just Thriftapalooza's future, but the community's future. Our goal is to make sustainable living accessible and enjoyable for everyone. And the last thing I want to point out is my very last class here at UW, right, when I was getting my MBA, it was corporate social responsibility. All throughout business school, you learned that you want to make profits for the business, for the shareholders. But in corporate social responsibility, we learned that it's not just about the shareholders, it's about the stakeholders as well. Who are you impacting by creating your business? And how can you positively influence the community that you operate? That's very important to us, and we hope that you join us in our mission. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Nice presentation.
Thank you.
Do you have a business plan? Did you submit a business plan?
I did, yes.
I just didn't see it. Okay, cool.
I sent it. I promise I sent it. Yeah, I sent it.
Perfect. So I'm still confused. So I get the concept that you're getting, people are, tickets to get into it. You have vendor costs. Where do you hold the events? How do people know about the events? How do you deal with like their goodwill and all those different, kind of walk through that kind of ecosystem a little bit? Yeah,
the first event we held was at the fairgrounds. Second event we had was at the Greater Tacoma Convention Center. And our third event that we're hosting on March 25th is going to be at the back of the fairgrounds. And we do a lot of ads, and we're learning where our customers are, right? Like I said, we put a billboard up, but I don't think it got very much attention. But we're learning that a lot of our customers come from Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Now, can you I saw your bar graph there. I'm assuming a lot of your costs went to like paying the venue. So like the fair, it's got to be somewhat expensive. Is it a whole building you're taking down, or how do you?
Yeah, so the first event we rented out one building. This next event coming up, we're renting out 2 separate buildings.
So do you get that much volume right now? Are you seeing that many people wanting to come and be a vendor and then also come and attend?
Yeah, no, excellent question. Our very first event, it was crazy because we didn't expect that much popularity. We had lines wrapped around the building, and we had to hold people off from coming in. So the very second event, we are at this Tacoma Convention Center, and it was a 50,000 square foot space that was very well attended.
What's up, Stone?
What's up, David?
Yeah, so I've actually been to both of the events, and wasn't very familiar with the thrifting community, and I was really surprised to see how well attended both events were and how many folks were there selling their stuff, and I actually found some good stuff there. My question, though, is about your scalability and your projections. So as you project for more vendors and more folks, I would assume you would need a bigger event location or one that would, accommodate that. And I'm going to assume that that's probably one of your bigger expenses. So could you explain how your costs will go down with needing a bigger space and how you project, how that would look like?
Yeah, so what we've learned is we don't necessarily want a bigger space, because if you have too much space, right, then it's a lot of empty, it could be a lot of empty space. Right. There's a perfect number. I think what we need to do is either scale up more events. Yeah, scale up more events, and also, like I mentioned earlier, sell the business model to other cities and collect revenues from there.
Okay, my question is, I get the concept. It's kind of like as we used to call it, a swap meet on steroids. And you need both people who supply your repurposing materials, equipment, whatever, clothes, whatever, and then you need the customer.
Yep.
So how are you going to draw folks to repurpose their materials first? What's the incentive there? And then how are you going to advertise to try and get customers there? Because if you can't get the customers there, then, I'm just trying to figure out the dynamic.
Yeah, no, I get it. I get what you're saying. What we found is that there are a lot of businesses who want to come and vend at these events. There's a lot. We actually have a long process, and we filter them out. Do they fit our business model? Do they fit within our vision? See, a lot of entrepreneurs who are just starting out don't have the money to rent out a building to test out their business model. So they want to test it out these markets. And it's a very low barrier to entry for them. So it's very easy for us to attract them. We focus on attracting the customers. And that's where we spend all of our efforts. And by spending our advertising money on attracting these customers, other people, like I'm a business, for instance, hear about this event and say, oh, I want to vend there. And I'm repurposing trash. I want to be a vendor there. And we're finding it very easy to find vendors.
So other than your venue cost, you will probably have to have some insurance to cover that. And then your source of income is just renting the space, or how is that going to work?
Our source of income comes from ticket sales alone, mostly just ticket sales. Our vision, our goal is to make it as easy for the person who's just getting rid of their stuff to come. So we make it very cheap for them. So all of our revenue comes from, or not all of our revenue, but our profits come from ticket sales.
Okay, from gate sales. Okay, got it. Thank you.
I have a question about, you mentioned that, they're just people who want to get rid of junk, or they're businesses who want to test out something. So what is the majority, or what is the percentage of your, just people who come and empty their garage, or people who actually do this as a business?
Yeah, very good question. Right now, we're about 50% people who are garage sellers, and that's what we target. We target over 50%, but we're getting right around 50%. The rest can be food vendors, artists, just, businesses, soap makers, other businesses such as those. Or resellers. Resellers is a different category that aren't garage sellers. Resellers, they might go to the Goodwill bins and find something for $1 and turn around and sell it for $20.
And you said the cost to those that are selling, there is no cost to them? Is that
No,
correct?
there is a cost to
Just
those
much
selling.
lower.
Very low.
Okay.
So you have no impact on pricing of the vendors? Basically, they pay their $129
Yep.
at the table?
Yep.
You have the ticket sales. So when you go into the consignment space, you will have more demand or more control over pricing. Have you thought through that piece yet? Because that sounds like, personally, I don't want to come and man a booth. I mean, I wouldn't, but I hate garage sales or doing garage sales. The consignment would be kind of interesting for me. Have you thought through that model, how that's going to work as far as your cut and what the
We haven't
person-
thought through the model very much, just because it's a whole nother logistics nightmare that we haven't got to yet. We're still trying to figure out the market piece. I know JBF right now, Just Between Friends, I'm not sure if you're familiar, they host events over at the Puyallup Fairgrounds. It's very much a consignment market. People drop off their stuff, and they take 60% of revenues. We think that we wouldn't take 60%, we might take 25%. Yep.
A quick question. You talked about selling your business models to maybe other cities, states, or whatever. So could you tell me a little bit about what's the plan to get to that point, or whether or not you thought about franchising?
Yeah, those are both kind of related. So as far as JBF, Just Between Friends, like I just mentioned, they do something very similar where they have a handbook and they have systems built out for someone to buy their business for, say, about $20,000 to $30,000, right? And they take this handbook, and it's up to them to get this market started in their own city. And that's kind of like what we're thinking. Whereas if they do that, then we'll get a percentage of their ticket sales.
I have another question. So how do you usually finance when you rent a space? I assume you have to have upfront, that's your upfront cost.
Yep,
How do you finance that?
we just use our own money.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thriftapalooza.